how much money do I need to have on my bank account the day I retired so that I can live off just that money. Understanding.
Eloquens, the leading digital marketplace where you can share, discover, and download best practices from around the world. Our authors have published smart models and frameworks in domains of finance, strategy, marketing, and so much more. In this series, we sit down with the authors who drive our platform forward.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is Rishi from Eloquens.com and you're tuned into the Eloquens author interview series. Today I'm joined by Pierre-Alexandre Heurtebize, an expert in financial due diligence, financial modelling, corporate finance and private equity investments. Hello Pierre, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you, no problem at all. It's a pleasure to have you on actually. Before we get into some of the best practices on your Eloquens channel, can you please just give us a little background into your career history, professional achievements and your current roles now?
Yeah, no, clearly. So after my MBA at ESSEC Business School, where I specialized in finance, I started my career in private equity, doing small cap acquisition at BNP Paribas and Horizen Capital. And then after that, I moved to PwC in transaction services for 3 years in Paris and 2 years in Sydney. And after that, I decided to move back to Europe, start as an independent contractor. I actually met who is now my business partner, Akil. And so we started growing Horizen Capital together, where we mostly do advisory, digital marketing advisory for his part, corporate finance advisory, financial due diligence. And I've been working on deals, doing financial models, running M&A processes and financial due diligence for the past 3 years under the Horizen brand.
Wow. So clearly you have extensive financial professional experience, as you said, with Horizen Capital and your other roles as well, and especially at PwC, beginning there and then forming your own company with your friend. And in doing so, you've probably built various smart models and frameworks and different financial models. As you know, Eloquens is a platform which centralizes these templates in one location for other users to view and download for either for free or per cost at the author's discretion. And you yourself on your channel have 23 best practices on offer. Could you just tell us some of the different types of best practices that you have available on your channel?
Yeah, okay, clearly. And so I started being an author on Eloquens like 3 years ago, and clearly I don't regret it. I didn't know what to expect from it, and the experience has been really great with a lot of viewers and a lot of users. So mainly they're all related to finance and corporate finance. I guess the main one, the most popular one, are one which is a price volume mix analysis template, which I built from everything I learned at PwC. So this is actually what we use at PwC when we do transaction services and financial due diligence. I've also done and created a full course on how to do financial due diligence, P&L section, and the whole support of the course and the whole financial model that allows you to do most of the analysis that you do during the financial due diligence for the P&L section is also there. And then you have a couple of other models like a cap table, how to create a cap table with SAFE, how to do a constant currency analysis with P&L, how to do inventory management, cash flow projection, etc., etc.
Wow, so you offer a very extensive range of models on your channel, which is excellent. I think as well, if we just come back to the basics a little bit, for people who are just starting a business and want to get into, obviously need to build their financial model for their business, why do small companies in particular need to incorporate financial models, and what are financial models actually used for?
Yeah, clearly, very good question. So I would separate my answer in two categories. Financial modeling allows you to either look at the historical numbers to drive decision, get insight, and being able to make better decision based on what you see. Could be, oh, look, we didn't realize before, but now we can see that 80% of our revenue are coming from that very specific type in that very specific geography. Based on that, you can actually manage your marketing budget or your whole development strategy. So this is the first part. The second part is forecast. So trying to figure out how your company will grow. And I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, but doing a business plan, like everyone can do it, and you know, it's the future. No one will know what happened. Why would I spend time doing a business plan for 5 years? I mean, they have a point. You can forecast anything, and you know, you have so many uncertainty that it's very unlikely that that things will happen the way you plan it. However, why it's important? It's because when you do that, what you do is you set up a list of inputs, and you know that in the case things happen that way, this is going to be the output. So that allows you to test several scenarios and also be prepared, because the more time you spend on your forecast and your business plan, the more you think about, okay, if this happened, what will happen from the cost side? What will happen from the cash flow side? And how do I plan accordingly?
Okay, exactly. So, for example, if you were to plan for the next 5 years, but is there any benefit, let's say, planning for a bit longer, let's say the next 10 years, 15, or would you recommend for small businesses to start off with 5 years and then maybe as they grow, develop a new financial modeling when they have new inputs, etc., etc.?
I would recommend sticking to 5 years. Generally speaking, even for bigger companies, above 5 years is only very kind of reliable or useful for corporate projects that deal with infrastructure or with very long timeline. For instance, I was doing a modeling for a client that work in insurance. In insurance and health insurance, you know that generally your clients are going to stay with you for 15, 20, 25 years. So in that case, yes, you know, it can be useful to model that over a very extensive period of time. But for any regular business, I think 5 years is more than enough.
Fantastic. And let's say within this 5 years, there was a drastic change to the business. For example, a lot of the time, small businesses, as you know, will have to adapt and change depending on market scenarios. The most evident being the COVID pandemic. Would you then recommend revamping the financial model or kind of sticking to the same but just readjusting a little bit?
Yeah, I think you should always readjust your financial model. When you build your financial model, it's at the point, as of today, this is how it works. But then you should always tweak at least your inputs, change maybe the way you model things. And especially a startup is fast moving, right? You're going to launch new products, launch new geographies. Maybe you will even totally change your business model and change how you generate revenue. Move from a license, a one-off license type of revenue to a SaaS model, right? And all those things, you model them in a totally different ways. So if you have a structure and the structure of how you generate revenue and you generate cost is the same, you can keep your financial model the same and just change your input and your projections. But if your whole business model is changing, then obviously you need to rethink the way you do your forecast and your financial modeling.
Precisely, and I agree with you. I think that's probably why doing financial models through Excel is so important as well, as it's obviously very easy to change some of the inputs, you have the formulas, etc., etc. And speaking on this in terms of using Excel to model financial templates and things of the sort, what are some of the advantages of using the content on your channel? Perhaps you could give us an example of a specific best practice or so.
Yeah, no, clearly. But I do believe that there are a lot of solutions and software that are being created to try to replace Excel. Personally, I do think that the easiness of using Excel, the wide array of things you can do with it, but also how it is practically used within a company, I think it's going to be very hard to change how people use it at the moment. Maybe over the next 20 or 25 years, but for the moment, Excel is definitely here to stay. A couple of best practice I have. I think one of the very useful one is the one I was mentioning about financial due diligence. So generally, if you want to do a financial due diligence on a business, say doing $10 million in revenue plus, and you want to hire a team, it's going to cost you anywhere between 30 to 60K to do that. If you in-house, you feel like you already have the capacity to do it yourself, right? Or you have people with experience in it, you can use the template I've done to guide you through the different main analysis you want to look at, and then have your own analyst plugged in. I do recommend to still hire someone like a professional person to do it, but at least it will help you in the initial phase of your deal understand most of the key points of the P&L of the target you're trying to acquire.
Okay, fantastic. And with these best practices that you offer on your channel, you have some close to 900 users right now on your channel, which is very impressive indeed.
Thank you.
And of these users, what do your sort of main customers struggle with and then come to your channel to help out with? Of course, you have the different financial models and templates, but who's your sort of ideal customer?
I think my ideal customers are corporate finance or CFO or financial analysts or anyone working in the deal environment or in a FP&A slash CFO capacity, who don't want to spend 10 hours, 15 hours developing their own tool and can use a tailor-made one. Like the way I build my model, I'm really trying to make it so that everyone can use it and customize it. I try to never have complicated formulas, except if it's absolutely necessary. But most of my formula are going to be direct links. And the whole way I model is I put way more thought into how I organize the data and how I do calculation, very quick calculation, rather than being over complex and have one formula that calculates everything in one tab or one cell, which would make it super difficult for the user to actually use it. So in short, someone who wants to get insights on his business, have nice charts and graph also to visualize how the historical went or how to forecast their businesses, and want extra ready-made tools to be able to better analyze and get better insights from the business they're trying to analyze.
Fantastic. So it seems as though users who are just starting off their businesses, or those who actually just want to get into financial modeling themselves as well, can really look into your templates for advice and how to really model their, as you said, and forecast their business for the next 5 years or so. Are there any sort of preconditions that users must have? I think you may have already answered this question, but are there any preconditions a user may need to use some of your content, or as you said, is it more user friendly for everyone?
So most of the time, especially for the more advanced one, it will require to have a bit of corporate finance background. And when I say corporate finance, is basic understanding of accounting, basic understanding of Excel, understanding what a P&L balance sheet are, basically. I think is going to be a prerequisite for most of the model I get out there, even though I'm trying to make it as simple as possible to be able to really navigate the models and use them properly. Background in finance is necessary.
Okay, definitely. And do you have a sort of a wider target audience for your channel, or is it mainly targeted at these sort of businesses and those who have a corporate finance background?
And I'm also trying to target CEOs of companies that, for instance, are trying to do deals, either M&A or else, have that basic understanding of finance and accounting, but that's clearly not their main point. Like for instance, the tool I've done to calculate a cap table automatically, you have just a few inputs, and then it's going to calculate exactly what your cap table looks like after 2 or 3 subsequent fundraising. So those ones, for instance, is targeted to entrepreneurs who are currently trying to raise and want to understand how much equity they will retain in the business if they go through subsequent rounds of financing. And from time to time, I also put models there, and some of them are actually up there for free for personal finance. Like at one point, I was actually thinking, okay, how much money do I need to have on my bank account the day I retired, so that I can live off just that money? Understanding that, of course, you're living off the interest and the return on investment, but technically you could also start using up your capital until the day you die. And so I've had that thinking, and I put together a model that I thought could be useful for a lot of people, because I think there are a lot of education to be done that could be super useful for people in terms of personal finance. And I just put the model up there.
Okay, fantastic. What is this model called actually? Because that's very interesting. A lot of people have struggle with dealing maybe with personal finances, and having a model which you can actively forecast your finances for the next few years or so could prove very useful, and doesn't just have to be for those who have retired and are after they finish working, but even possibly they could use it now if they are trying to save money, etc., etc.
Yeah, so the model is called Personal Finance: How long will capital last when I retire? And I also wrote an article, I think it was on Medium, where I explain how to use the model as well.
Okay, fantastic. No, that's very interesting actually. Of course, I've heard of financial modelings for startups, CEOs and corporates, but actually incorporating a financial modelling for everyday use is something which people could definitely use, because I think in today's climate as well, cost of living, of course, going up, it's important to have a good understanding of your finances, what needs must be met, etc. So exactly. With your best practices, so in terms of who uses your best practices at the moment, would you say it's majority corporates and CEOs? But of course now you have this new personal model, maybe that will change in the future. Do you have any idea of where this will go?
I don't. So I do think there are many CEOs, FP&A, financial analysts, and I have a few people, asking me questions about the model. So they're clearly using it as part of their daily job in a finance capacity within corporate organizations. I think that's really my target focus, because when I do things for personal finance, I think it's more on the side, like either to actually help people, because I think it's important. And if I start building more developed one, then that will still target people who are a bit more literate in terms of finance. Like I'm thinking, for instance, about having a model to track your net asset month over month, which is a model that I personally use. I built it for myself for the moment. I haven't put it on the platform, but I'm thinking about using that as an extra to put it up and help people out. But most of the the audience I want to target, I think, are financial analysts, financial modelers. And when I have time to create new models and also create courses, because I have like a full P&L analysis courses, which is also on Eloquens. I'm really thinking about taking time to build a financial analysis and financial modeling in the context of private equity course, where I would start with a simple model, classic fundraising, for instance, where with an entity doing a simple LBO, adding money, maybe adding a bit of debt, and then based on that, showing how to build it and build extra layers of complexity. Having other financial instruments on it, having convertible, having a liquidity preference, etc. So my goal would be to have that course as a step-by-step building of the models, and all the support, so all the financial model that I'm building almost live, use it to put it as a template on Eloquens.
Wow, that's very impressive actually. I think. And it's important actually, because a lot of people undervalue financial literacy, and for me, and I think for you maybe, it's almost like a language that you have to learn. It's sure. It's different to, you can't just go into it blindly. You have to know people and know the best practices, and that's exactly what you're doing on Eloquens, offering people the opportunity to see models, have their models, interpret the models for themselves, and then really learn financial modeling, as well as just using your models as well, which is why I think that the courses you offer are some of your best practices, because it not only gives you the financial model, but teaches you really how to build it and then implement it yourselves into your own business, which is very, very important. And going on that, what would you say your greatest strengths are in relation to financial modeling? in terms of what skills do you believe are necessary to be successful, to be a good financial modeler per se, and to excel in the world of financial due diligence?
Okay, so again, at least 2 points to answer that. So the first one is going to be your business acumen. So that's a great thing. One of the greatest things I think I learned from my MBA, from my experience in private equity and from PwC, is when you work as a consultant, you're exposed to a lot of business model. And at the end, when you start getting to the level of senior, associate, and manager, your brain is actually wired to understand quickly a new business model that you've never heard of. And this is generally the greatest strength of consultant or ex-consultant, is they're going to understand faster your business when you hire them. And that's actually the feedback I got last week from another client who was impressed how I managed to pick up and understand the key ratios and the key points of his business model, which I was not familiar at all with like a week before starting. So doing that allows you to, in your brain and in preparation of your financial model, knowing what you will want to focus on and how to properly model, use the right input and use those input to have the right output. And so the second thing that I think is very important also to build a financial model is fully related to your understanding and your mastery of Excel. I think you have several levels in your learning journey in Excel. At least they are the steps I went through. The first one is you start learning about the platform itself. So where are the buttons? What can you do? What are the different formulas? Second level is you start really learning about the complex formula and how to use several formula in one. And you're trying to get to a point where you can do in one cell what you needed 20 cells to do before and do cool stuff. But at that stage, you feel like you're really good at Excel. The issue is it's not practical as part of an organization, because then you're building complex models that are great, but that you're the only one who are able to use. I think the next level, which took me years to get there, is to be able to use at least complex formula as you can, but you think way more about the structure on how you're going to build your Excel. And you have a lot of tricks that you use to be super fast, and you're going to learn all the shortcuts. So in short, you're going to do things way more efficiently than the average person, simply because from the start you know exactly where to input the numbers, how to build your tables so that you can replicate them and duplicate them, and you're building it in a way that all the formula are easy to track and for anyone to come in and in less than 5 or 10 minutes understand how your model is built and can actually pick it up from there.
Exactly. I agree very much so on that, because especially with the second point, because you need to have time in doing so and in practicing financial models in order to get to that point. I feel as you said, it took you years to finally get to that point. And I don't know if you've read Robert Greene's Mastery. He talks of some of the similar things like that in terms of you need to be putting in the hours, doing the time in order to become an expert in such a thing as you are now with financial modeling. And how important do you think it is, especially for you who then would approach or get approached by corporates and CEOs and different startups who want to use your financial models? How important do you think it is to explain a financial model in simple terms so that they understand really what's going on, and how do you go about explaining it really simply, even though they are very complex and complex terms? Sorry.
It's 90% of your job. Like you could be the best engineer in the world, the best corporate finance guy in the world, the best at anything. If you're not able to explain what you've done to your hierarchy or to your clients, it's very likely that your work is never going to be used. That reminds me when I was interning during my second internship, I spent 3 weeks building a cool model with a lot of macros that would make the whole thing super useful and easy to use for the company I was interning at. And nobody used it in the end because they couldn't understand the macros, they couldn't understand what was going on. If anything was going wrong, they couldn't fix it without me. So that was a good teaching lesson at that moment that made me understand that people need to be able to understand and to pick up your model if you want them to actually use them. And so that's also why, as part of my process, every time I work with a client, again, I'm trying to build it in a simplest way. And sometimes, if I feel like the modeling would be more accurate but 10 times more complex, I generally suggest and recommend to my clients to go with the simpler option, less complex one, even though your forecasts are not going to be perfect. Because at the end of the day, it's never going to be perfect. And the second thing I always do at the end of a financial modeling is generally I do a screen share. I record a Loom video where I go through the whole model and explain the key points of what they need to input, how it works, and what's going to be the output.
No, exactly. That's very important, I think, explaining it clearly. And as you said, financial models at the end of the day are forecasts. And so maybe, as you said, not having a more accurate model, but more easy to explain is actually better, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's not going to be perfect anyway. In terms of your content on your channel, do you have a sort of long-term vision for the content on your channel? Also, perhaps long-term vision for Horizen Capital and some of the operations that you're currently doing over there and want to expand to in the future?
Yeah. To be honest, the only thing that limits me on my Eloquens channel at the moment is my time, right? Because I obviously also have like actual clients I need to do consultancy for. We're building different things at Horizen. For instance, we're currently raising a $25 million fund to invest in companies, in SaaS companies at the moment. So from all of that, I'm just lacking the time to develop more templates. But if I could, what I would do is I would do SEO analysis to really understand what people look for the most and pick up the one with the highest level of search that fits my particular skill set. I do think I would start basically by doing a lot of financial models related to M&A transactions and private equity, so LBO models, management package, waterfalls, and all of that. And I really believe, and I may actually be doing that in the future, that doing a whole environment of content creation, so templates, but also courses, will benefit the community and also benefit the whole ecosystem that I would train. Because now, if you start with a course about financial modeling, and then on top of that, you've actually built a course on Excel tricks on how to go faster. And then you have templates for people who now understand better financial analysis that they can use directly. And then you write articles about it to explain it, because I also have a few articles where I explain how to build a cash flow statement, how to do financial transaction services, etc. I think then you're adding a lot of value to the people because you have the template, you explain how they work, and you teach them how to build their own.
Exactly, no, definitely, especially the teaching and again, as you said, looking and developing further your expertise with M&A modeling in particular. And I think that's another way in which you could also, for those who are starting out financial modeling as well, is actually teaching other people. Maybe you don't know it properly yet, and you're not a complete expert like yourself, but I found that teaching other people something often helps to improve your own knowledge on the topic as well. And so there's...
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sorry, go on.
No, and to add on that, like again, today it would be harder because my financial model and my courses are kind of a side activity at the moment. But I also believe that if you start building up a community and building up the size of your user base, especially for the course, then it becomes possible also for me to dedicate more time to it and to do live session on top of the online courses. And I kind of envision that having either people come to a location or doing it online, but adding that layers of direct interaction with the students to be able to have that back and forth, question and answers, and really help them improve and build on what I've been teaching in the courses.
Precisely, exactly. And then having a strong user base on platforms such as Eloquens then allows them possibly in the future to then come to your company, Horizen Capital, and you can help them develop further and really give them more one-to-one with their business, for example. I noticed that at Horizen Capital, some of the areas of expertise that you offer include things such as conversion rate optimization and lead generation and outreach campaigns. I know this doesn't have too much to do with financial modeling, but do you plan on adding any of those practices to your Eloquens channel, or for now just keeping it strictly focused on financial modeling and due diligence?
So thanks for mentioning that, because that's exactly one of the things that we do at Horizen. But this is more my business partner who handle that. So this is data driven. So there is a lot of similarity with financial analysis. However, all the digital marketing side of it are handled by my business partner. Because the whole thinking on how we built Horizen was to focus on SaaS businesses and think about, okay, how can we help them? And the conclusion was like, if we can come in earlier or come in as growth consultant, help them grow faster, help them have a higher level of revenue, then that puts them in a better position to either sell their business or to fundraise at higher valuation, which we can help with as well. So we're really trying to come in and again cover a large spectrum of the ecosystem when it comes to helping companies grow and entrepreneur exit the business.
Yes, exactly. I think that's important, and that's another thing which again maybe in the future potentially could be very useful on the Eloquens channel. And I think especially in terms of the lead generation, outreach campaigns, conversion rate optimization. For example, teaching someone how to build a landing page, let's say, or things of the sort. Of course, those will also really help, and then incorporating that alongside a financial model is a recipe for business success. So what you guys are doing there at Horizen Capital is really very good work, actually, I must say.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
No worries at all. And just once again, thank you for joining us here today, Pierre, and sharing your extensive knowledge and into the insight of the world of financial modeling a little bit, into financial due diligence and private equity investment. But before we go, you can find Pierre's channel with the full set of his best practices under Heurtebize at eloquens.com. Please just let the other people listening now where they can find details for Horizen Capital and your other channels, and how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so the easiest one would be to reach out directly to me on LinkedIn. Pierre-Alexandre Heurtebize. I'm the only one there, so I don't have two people with the same name. Otherwise, you can also reach out to me on Pierre, Pierre, at Horizen, and Horizen with Z-E-N, not Z-O-N. We almost often have the confusion. So Pierre at horizencapital.com.
Thank you, and thank you for tuning in, everyone. I hope you've all learned something today. I know I certainly have in regards to financial modeling, and we'll see you next time with a new expert in the Eloquens Author Interview series. Goodbye.
Okay. Thanks a lot for having me. Bye.
Thank you once again for tuning in. To stay up to date with the Eloquens Author Interview series, click the subscribe button below, and for more episodes like this one, view the full series on our YouTube channel. For more information on how to become a registered author and start boosting your yearly revenue, visit eloquens.com or contact our team at elise.white@eloquens.com. Remember, don't reinvent the wheel.